Now, what is an RPG in 2016? I've been staring at this category. What game to award Best RPG for 2016? Now, in the earliest years of gaming, that was a lot easier because these game types were so vastly different, you couldn't offer everything in one game, or so we thought. RPGs were generally turn-based. They were the games that had the largest worlds that you could explore. They were open. You would name your character, you could choose some things about your character, maybe the type of skills they had, and you would level things up. You didn't really level anything up in a Mario game. It was more about skill and platforming and very direct action tied mostly to reflexes and planning and physics. There was a little bit of a story, but the little blurbs at the end of a castle were nothing compared to the walls and walls of text you would read in, say, Final Fantasy I or another game of that ilk. Now, a game like Zelda came along and it took the pure action and reflexes of Mario, or more bullet hell games really, but it combined that with the open world of an RPG to create something different, more of an adventure game. Metroid, again, was about reflexes and action first and foremost, but it had a larger world to explore and power-ups in terms of weapons. You didn't really have much text other than the opening crawl or something at the end, but it told a story using atmosphere. Now, this is basically where genres should have died. I mean, it's very easy to classify a game as a fighting game or a simulation, but in terms of action and RPG, these become more like elements. I mean, if you look at games nowadays, for example, let's look at the Game Awards 2016 by Jeff Keighley. I love the show. I love what he's doing. And I'm not here to criticize it, but let's just take a look at what they nominated for Best RPG. Now, they describe this as the best games designed for rich player character customization and progression, both offline and online, including massive multiplayer. So they nominated Dark Souls 3, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Blood and Wine, World of Warcraft Legion, and Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, I'd say Xenoblade Chronicles X might be one of the most traditional RPGs, although I haven't spent a lot of time with it. It looks like a pretty traditional RPG to me. You're running around a big world, you're fighting monsters, that's very traditional, and I think it has a lot of grinding and leveling up. World of Warcraft is the modern version of a traditional RPG set with real-time attacks, but using... See, this is how little I know about World of Warcraft. It looks semi-real-time with cooldowns, so in a way, it's like bringing that turn-based fighting into the modern era. You go around worlds, you level things up. So is that what an RPG is? Exploring a big world, taking quests as you see fit, and leveling yourself up? That's what the Game Awards describes it as. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. You do a lot of leveling up. You do a lot of choice in terms of the vast amount of missions in the world that you can explore, but a lot of the game is based on this real-time combat. Now, in the 80s, RPGs never had real-time combat, but was that the only thing that separated them? Not really. And when you looked at RPG games that were on the PC, that felt like real-time combat. A good example is The Elder Scrolls 3. You swing your attack in real time, but all of the skills are handled off-screen in very traditional RPG mechanics. We're talking Dungeons and Dragons, dice rolls going on. You have a weapon skill of 80 and they have an armor of 90. That all gets tossed into some mathematical blender and the results come out all in real time. Deus Ex Mankind Divided offers choice, an open world, quests to do, and a way to level up your character, but at its heart is really a stealth and an action game. Dark Souls 3. I'd say this is the one that least deserves to be on this list in terms of the traditional sense, in that, sure, you pick your character, you build them, you can make them look like whatever you want, you can name them anything you want, you level up your character and their skills, you choose how to do that, you choose who to talk to and how to talk to people. I feel like I'm convincing myself even more that this is an RPG, but at its heart, it's Punch-Out. It's all about action and reflexes and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And that's where we need to stop worrying about what we call games, and that these labels should never be more important than the game. You never want a label or basically anything other than personal health and safety and financial security to limit what a game can be. A game should incorporate any element that contributes to it being the best vision possible. That doesn't mean incorporating everything unless that's what makes the best game. Kitchen sink game, if that's your idea of fun, do that. Make it a mod, throw it on the PC Steam community, see what those crazy motherfuckers do with it. I guarantee they'll do something cool. Or make it a very focused thing. Take one element from Final Fantasy, take one element from action games. That's what we need to focus on, and I think it's only really tough for journalists and people trying to pick awards and say this is an RPG or this isn't an RPG. So, what is an RPG? It's a label. That's all it is. It's something to help describe a game. It's something to maybe point someone in the direction. You might like this game. It has RPG elements of leveling your character up. But really, it's a very broad label. It's a very primitive label. Now, let's look at games that are very, very traditional RPGs in this sense right now. We have the Banner Saga 2. These are games that are throwbacks to when it was easier to identify a game. These are throwbacks to PC RPGs that use almost note for note the same mechanics and elements, streamlined and made better over time. You would hope that's their intent, but are very much a recreation of an older style of game that was easier to classify. So what it comes down to is that these labels really mean nothing, especially in this action adventure RPG. I mean, look at most of the games on the Game Awards. They're shooters. When you go for best action game, Battlefield, Doom, Gears of War, Overwatch, Titanfall, those are all shooters. So that's what action is this year. That's what games you could throw into there. So let's not worry about what is an RPG and what isn't. Let's just worry about what makes a great game and all the different ways game developers can combine these elements of things we love in games to make the next game that we love.